Bracket Cat provided me with the intro for Josh. Cover your ears, Oklahoma State fans. Josh Neighbors is next.
Oh, man.
And Josh, before we get into all the kind of crazy topics of the last week of media days and whatnot, I have found that Oklahoma State fans are very defensive about you picking them even fourth in a conference. I don't know where you picked them this year, but I picked them fourth, and I am persona non grata in Stillwater, Oklahoma right now.
Well, I've actually moved on to Colorado fans.
Okay.
They're my next. Yeah. We've moved on. That's my next piece. I have to settle. So I moved on from Stillwater now to Boulder. That's where we're at when it comes to the feud. I still think Oklahoma State's going to be good. I ranked Mike Gundy as the best coach in the league in the power rankings that I did for coaches. So they can't be too upset. I mean, come on,
No, absolutely not. All right, let's start big and whittle our way down. So, realignment news-wise, there have been a lot of things out there and about FSU and Clemson, and most of them are not true, but what is true is that the Big 12 is certainly an option for FSU and Clemson, but we have no idea when that legal wrangling over the two of them is going to be over and when they're going to be on the market. So you can't really believe anything that anybody says about their interest or not right now, because right now it's no, but when they're free agents, that could easily change. What are your thoughts on the madness that surrounded those two schools, and in particular, the fervor of Big 12 fans wanting to get them in the league, which, look, I'll just tell you, I would rather enjoy if it happened, just because I would get to see my guys quite a bit.
So I'm gonna cite a listener here left me a YouTube comment. So Roscoe was his name. And I believe what Jason Shear said was there's a growing sentiment inside the Big 12 to land them. He replied with, there's an internal belief among 5-year-olds that Santa is real. So I don't think it's that, that much of a big jump. But I will say this, I think it's all posturing. Everybody's posturing, right? It's good for the Florida State and Clemson contingent to know that they're wanted by an extra entity that is the Big 12. My big thing has always been this. So these conferences make these moves because the TV networks want them. And Paul, you and I have talked about this. You know this. Why would ESPN want to let FSU and Clemson go and then pay more for them? Right? They've got them on a great a long-term contract, locked up. I mean, it's like if you got I'll give you a Spencer Strider with the Braves. A nice long contract for a very good amount of money, and why would you let that go? Why would the Braves say, you know what, we're good, we're going to let you, break that deal? No, there's no point in doing that. And so I think that they're going to fight this. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't know about that stuff. Once again, communications degree from Mizzou, which does not make me qualified to talk about private equity or talk about the legal happenings right now. My belief has always been, hey, Texas and Oklahoma got out with 3 years left in the deal. The ACC still has 12 years left. And so they're going to have to find every possible way, the Clemson and FSU lawyers, to get them out of this. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's always a number, yes, but that number is going to be big. And so I don't pretend to know about how that's going to happen. It feels like it might at some point they want to leave desperately, but it's good for the Big Ten and SEC to say, we don't have too much interest, right now. But the Big Ten landed Oregon and Washington and actually landed them for a pretty good price for the next 5 or 6 years. So it's good for them to posture and say that we're not too interested, right? That's beneficial for them. The Big 12, it's good to say, hey, we're in the mix. We think we can land them, because if you don't land them, what's the harm done? People would be like, wow, the Big 12 is so dumb. No. All of Brett Yormark's moves, he feeds a lot of stuff to the media. He knows how to play the media. That's his kind of big thing, is he's a big picture ideas guy, and it's all about narrative and things like that with him. So I think all parties are kind of getting what they want out of this. But in the end of the day, what are we all actually waiting for? The legal things to take place to kind of facilitate whatever that move would look like. I do think the ACC relationship with Clemson and Florida State is so broken to the point that I don't think it's going to keep persisting beyond this next television contract. But how do you get out of something that lasts until 2036? I mean, I might have children by then, which is a horrifying thought. So who the heck knows what's going to happen with a TV contract that long? And I'm kind of in a wait and see mode when it comes to that, although it has been red hot in the news lately. Yeah,
and what I would say is, like, when you ask about ESPN has the option to blow up the ACC deal. They have that option in February. So if by February things are so cattywampus between Florida State and Clemson that they're going to be gone soon, they might do that, and then they'd have that money to spend elsewhere as they pleased. But yeah, it's one of those things that is weird about, like, that's another question that would have to be answered, and that's just not something that ESPN is just going to be like, yeah, sure, why not? Do whatever you want. We'll give you the money, like, we'll match it. They just can't keep printing the money. And again, the ACC would have to absolutely be blown up and destroyed for ESPN to then be motivated, and Fox for that matter, to be motivated to start paying schools going to those two conferences or the three conferences more money, pro rata or whatever that they would have to do. And I still think the ACC being completely blown up is less of a possibility because, much like the Big 12, they've got a lot of schools that can stick together, and they're better together, because if they're not, then they're out in the desert.
Right. I mean, like, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
There's just not much conversation about where the landing spot is, so it's just kind of better to stand pat than to go somewhere else. So I'm with you on that front. I just think we've seen so much movement. That's why there's so much conversation around it. It feels like it could happen again. But when you look at the finer details, the finer points, it's a lot easier for Texas and OU to find it out and work with the Big 12 and TV partners than it is for FSU and Clemson to do so when they've got a decade on the books with the ACC.
Josh, now that we're about a week out from Big 12 Media Days, after you've had time to consume everything that went down there, are there any teams, after listening to everything, that you're maybe higher on or lower on, or that your perspective drastically changed on after hearing everybody talk this past week?
Yeah, I'm shocked. Mike Gundy's still the same person. Are you guys? Surprised? Yeah. Mike Gundy appears to be the same individual that was my favorite part of this, because so they bring Ollie Gordon to Media Day, and that was his decision too. I don't know why Mike Gundy didn't just say, look, Ollie's here to answer some of those questions. My decision as the curator of Oklahoma State football is we're not gonna suspend him. He'll be punished internally. You all can ask Ollie questions. I ask that you all, are fair to him when you all do. He's a young man who made a mistake. But he's here to answer for that stuff. Instead, we're like, well, BAC and body weight. It's like, okay, we don't need to litigate this. There was no need for it. And whatever Ollie's response was, and I actually didn't see, I saw what he did on BYU TV, but like Mike Gundy's responses overshadowed that. Maybe that was by design to protect his player, but he just didn't have to do it. Now, once again, there's really no downside for Mike Gundy because this is who he is. But I did find that really interesting because the guy was there to answer for his sins, and it's like, let me answer for you. Let's talk about body weight and blood alcohol content. It's like, he's still a minor. He can't drink at all. Open alcohol in the car. Like, it's kind of just a moot point. Let him answer for it. Let him apologize. You decide the punishment. Let's move forward from there. That was kind of my big takeaway was that, because it did make the most news, I think. You all can disagree with me if you think, but I felt like that was kind of the big story nationally out of the entire week.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun. Like, people got mad at Mike Gundy. And look, Mike Gundy, I agree with you. He didn't need to really say it that way, but he said it in the most Mike Gundy way. I mean, like, he kind of sounded like Cal Naughton Jr. from Ricky Bobby, where he's like, look, I like to party. Yeah. Like, that was kind of the vibe.
Hell yeah.
That
who amongst us hasn't had a few 1,000 times and driven home? It's like, Mike, we don't have to say it.
Yeah, no, you don't have to say it. Like, everybody who's done that can point the fingers internally, and he kind of made it worse. And look, Ollie Gordon made a terrible mistake, but every program is different and it's adjudicated differently. And if this was Ollie Gordon, like this isn't at Georgia where they've had a bunch of guys get in trouble for driving-related incidents all within a year of a tragedy, and Kirby Smart has yet to do anything about it other than having the collective fine them, which clearly isn't working, or they're not fining them enough. This is kind of a different thing. So, yeah, I agree with your take on that like he could have been like, look, he's here to answer for it. No, look, I said last week I credit them for bringing him there because a lot of schools would have been like, nope, you're staying home.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I mean, I feel like at Georgia, if the state troopers haven't stopped you at least once, you're not allowed to start. I think that might be the policy with Kirby Smart. But, no, for Oklahoma State, yeah, it's strange. But also, it doesn't really matter, I think, for their season. I'm mostly curious about because I actually didn't think that team was that great last year, talent-wise. But Mike Gundy squeezed the heck out of that orange and got so much out of that team. And so I'm wondering if they can take it. Is there another step for them to take, or that group reach its top? Because, guys, I didn't put Allen Bowman in my top 10 quarterbacks in the league. The guy's 27. He's not entered the NFL. And the NFL's got a lot of guys, God loves Sam Ellinger, tough kid, good kid. But he's a backup quarterback. My guy, Chase Daniel from Mizzou. He's not really that good, but he's made a ton of money in the league because people like him a lot, and he's good for the quarterback room. If Allen Bowman can't take that step yet, there's some serious questions about how good of a quarterback he is. And I don't think he's going to be improving the way some quarterbacks do through their careers. So I'm super curious about that team because with the coach and the personnel and that many starters returning, you'd say, yeah, they're a contender. But the talent last year, and I'm just like, wasn't an especially talented team. So they're a contender, but they'll go as far as the quarterback can take them, I think, in the big picture of college football.
Yes, absolutely. Josh, it was I do want to go back to one realignment thing because we just got a super chat from GU Know It for $5, and thank you guys. KU, TCU, Cincinnati, and UCF are going to, and Baylor are going ACC according to Grok on Twitter. And I read this earlier. So Grok on Twitter, I'm sure you know what it is. If you're they kind of do this thing where they summarize news stories. So if you were summarizing a news story,
aggregating.
Yeah. So it does a pretty good job because I've looked at a couple things of hey, here's what happened and here's what's going on. But the last sentence of the paragraph was that speculation is that the ACC, should they lose Florida State and Clemson, will add UCF, TCU, Kansas, will attempt to add them, and it's well, that makes no sense, and that's just the realignment pornographers tweeting so much about it that Grok thinks that that's the real thing.
Yeah, it's almost like you picked you assign each team a number, and then you drew straws, and you're like, all right, teams 6, 5, 12, and 11 are the ones that we're going to say are rumored to go to the ACC, and it's those schools. It doesn't make any sense in that pattern. I don't think at all. I mean, this stuff is. I like talking about it on some level, but at this time of year, it's like, my God, when's the first kickoff?
Yes.
Please, for the love of God, get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary, you got something? No. Okay. Josh, SEC Media Days was this week. Texas and OU are in. What did you kind of find interesting about their entrance officially into the conference?
Steve Sarkisian took a shot at Arkansas, where I live, which I thought was well said, to say the least, man, about they worry about us, more than they worry about themselves. Or I forgot what the comment was. I think they hate Texas more than they like themselves. Sark, for all, I don't think we talk about this enough. I think for what he went through personally, managing the situation at Texas and all the external stuff he has to deal with, I think he's honestly been prepared for it because of what he dealt with personally. And I think he's handled it really well. And I think he identified the problems on that team. And so people were like, well, they're not just going to come here and dominate, but they fixed their lines of scrimmage. At least last year they did. And they still have a lot of those guys back. And they're not on the defensive line, they don't. But that's why they went and they beat Alabama, is because up front they were good enough to hang with Bama. They had some long drives that were important long drives in that game. And they proved they can push around an SEC team in the spots they need to. The quarterback stuff obviously will always be a talking point. Now, I know Sark said, hey, we're going to need both guys. I think that was just to keep them both happy. And also, Quinn Ewers' track record with injuries probably shows you, hey, they're going to maybe need some help too. So I thought Saban saying, hey, I'm not going to run this league. Yeah, I mean, that league is, there's so many good teams. Like, Bama has a great season. Georgia has a great season. And then, LSU's got a great season. I mean, there's just a lot of up and down. People are saying Missouri and Ole Miss are about to have great seasons as well. So many quality programs there. I am interested in Oklahoma a lot more, though, because when the news came out, if you said, all right, Texas and OU are going to the Big 12 or SEC, which team is most likely to win a SEC title sooner? I think we all would have said Oklahoma. Obviously, Lincoln Riley makes the move. Brent Venables has been there a couple of years. They had a nice year last year, but I don't feel like the roster was a competitive top-level SEC roster. Would have been competitive in the league, but I don't think it would have won anything significant in that league. So I am interested to see how the Brent Venables project growing that program continues to go. And Jackson Arnold, I think, is an absolute stud, but how does that mesh with their offensive line play and wide receivers? And on defense, can an Oklahoma defense tackle anybody? It's been a while. It feels like Alex Grinch kind of messed that up to the point where they did it well for the first few games last year and just have not done it that well since. So I'm actually interested to see Oklahoma, how good they are, because I feel like Texas, with the way Sark has it rolling right now, he's got 2 5-stars to bench. He'll get another 5-star quarterback as well, too. And I think he'll get more guys in the offensive and defensive line. I think Texas is going to be fine if Sark's the guy.
Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch. Josh, always love having you on. Garrett was upset he did not get to see your smiling face on camera today. So next time, let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a threat. All right. I will make sure I'm there next time.
All right, Josh, as an Italian, everything I say could sound like a threat.
Also, as a fellow Italian, Paul, I'm in a parking lot taking this call, talking with my hands, as people in a nail salon are like, what is wrong with this gentleman next to the Subaru Outback out there? So I totally understand the Italian thing about coming off as a threat. I'm talking with my hands in a parking lot. And if you'd like to see more of that, the Big 12 Watch every single day on Crystal Ball College Football, at Josh Neighbors _ on X/Twitter, and also at NWPod365. We began our team preview. First of 16 came today with Colorado. Pat Rooney came on. Really fun preview. We asked the question, does Deion Sanders know what he's doing? And we tried to answer that best we could today. So more of that coming your way. And I always love talking to you, Paul. I always love talking to you guys, Garrett. Thanks for having me on.
Josh Neighbors, always love it. Again, fellow Italian.